Here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to admit. The people who betray your trust most deeply in professional environments are often the ones who initially showed you the most appreciation and recognition. While everyone focuses on obvious workplace enemies and competitive colleagues, the real devastation comes from those who made you believe your professional excellence had earned you something more than just payment for services rendered. Most career advice tells you to build strong workplace relationships and go the extra mile for recognition, but what they don't tell you is that this approach often sets you up for the most painful professional disappointments you'll ever experience. There's something profoundly revealing about how people treat the spaces they don't own, yet choose to nurture with genuine care. When Daniel arrived at work each morning, he didn't just clock in like most landscapers who see gardens as mere tasks to complete. He approached that backyard as if it were his own sanctuary, understanding that true craftsmanship in any professional environment stems from an internal commitment that transcends monetary compensation. The way he swept every fallen leaf, repositioned each flower with surgical precision, and ensured everything looked impeccable wasn't about impressing anyone. It was about honoring his craft and maintaining the kind of professional integrity that builds lasting trust in any workplace relationship. Most people fail to recognize the subtle art of reading character through action, but observing how someone handles responsibility when no one's watching reveals everything about their core values. Daniel's meticulous attention to detail spoke volumes about his approach to loyalty and commitment in professional settings. While other contractors rushed through jobs to maximize profit, he invested extra time because he understood that excellence creates its own form of currency. His calloused hands told stories of dedication that most people in comfortable office environments never experience. The frustration of watching colleagues cut corners while you maintain standards is a universal workplace experience that transcends industries. Whether you're a landscaper, accountant, or executive, the principle remains. Your professional reputation is built one careful action at a time. The most dangerous betrayals in professional environments often begin with the smallest gestures of recognition and appreciation that awaken something deeper than intended. When she emerged with that steaming cup of coffee, her words carried weight that extended far beyond casual politeness. "You care for this garden as if it were your own. I've never seen anyone do this for me." These moments of acknowledgement can shift the entire dynamic of a working relationship, creating emotional investments that weren't part of the original agreement. What started as professional excellence was suddenly being interpreted through a lens of personal connection. But here's what most people don't realize about workplace dynamics. Recognition has the power to transform routine professional interactions into something more meaningful, yet it also opens doors to misinterpretation and eventual disappointment. Daniel found himself in a position that millions of workers face daily. When appreciation feels personal rather than professional, the lines begin to blur in ways that can lead to unexpected emotional investment. The learning here isn't about avoiding recognition, but understanding how to receive it without compromising your professional boundaries. She began noticing details about his work ethic that others overlooked, commenting on the dedication evident in his weathered hands. This kind of attention can be intoxicating for anyone who's used to their efforts going unnoticed. The trap isn't the appreciation itself, but the assumption that professional excellence automatically translates to personal value in someone's life. Building genuine professional relationships requires understanding the difference between being valued for your work and being valued as a person, though the two often become dangerously intertwined. Over the following days, what began as professional recognition evolved into something that felt more personal and intimate. She started waiting by the gate, engaging in conversations about plants that seemed to extend beyond mere curiosity about gardening. Her compliments about his hands weren't just about appreciating good work. They carried undertones that suggested she saw something deeper in his character. This progression happens in offices, workshops, and professional environments worldwide, when competence becomes confused with personal connection. The frustration of misreading these signals can lead to emotional investments that weren't reciprocated in the way they were intended. The moment that reveals true character isn't when things go as expected, but when reality crashes against our carefully constructed assumptions about professional relationships. Daniel's learning curve was about to accelerate in the most painful way possible. teaching him lessons about workplace dynamics that no training manual could prepare him for. The sound of laughter from the backyard that third day carried with it the weight of revelation that would redefine his understanding of professional boundaries. These moments of clarity, though devastating, often provide the most valuable education about human nature in work environments. The ability to maintain composure and continue performing excellently despite personal disappointment separates true professionals from those who let emotions dictate their work quality. When he discovered her with the tennis instructor, young, confident, and clearly occupying a space in her life that had nothing to do with professional appreciation, Daniel faced a choice that defines character in every workplace scenario. The sight of them together among the roses he'd carefully planted could have triggered anger, confrontation, or abandonment of professional standards. Instead, his response revealed the kind of wisdom that comes from understanding that your professional value isn't diminished by someone else's personal choices. His quiet adjustment of his cap, gathering of tools, and continuation of his work demonstrated a level of emotional intelligence that most people never develop. The superation of such moments lies not in dramatic responses, but in maintaining your professional integrity, regardless of personal disappointment, understanding that your worth as a professional transcends any individual relationship. The art of graceful deflection in professional settings reveals more about someone's character than any resume or recommendation letter ever could. When caught in compromising situations, most people resort to elaborate explanations that only make the situation more uncomfortable for everyone involved. Her attempt to introduce the tennis instructor as someone helping with stretches demonstrated the kind of awkward damage control that happens daily in workplaces when personal and professional boundaries collide. The discomfort of witnessing such moments teaches us valuable lessons about maintaining dignity under pressure. Daniel's response to her clumsy explanation wasn't born from hurt feelings, but from a deep understanding that professional relationships don't require personal justifications. His wisdom lay in recognizing that her personal choices had nothing to do with the quality of his work or his professional integrity. There's profound power in refusing to engage with drama that doesn't serve your professional growth or personal development. When she stammered through her explanation about Leo and the stretching sessions, Daniel could have responded with sarcasm, anger, or demands for clarity about their relationship. Instead, his reply cut through the nonsense with surgical precision. "I only care for the roots. Who steps on the flowers isn't my problem." This response demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that separates exceptional professionals from those who get entangled in workplace drama. The ability to maintain focus on your core responsibilities while others create chaos around you is a skill that transcends industries and situations. Whether you're dealing with office politics, client relationships, or service interactions, this principle remains constant. Your professional value isn't determined by other people's personal decisions. The most valuable learning experiences often come disguised as painful rejections or disappointing revelations about people we thought we understood. Daniel's encounter with this situation provided him with insights that would serve him throughout his career and personal life. The frustration of investing emotional energy in professional relationships that don't reciprocate can either embitter you or teach you invaluable lessons about boundaries and expectations. His choice to focus on caring for roots, rather than worrying about who steps on flowers, represents a fundamental shift in perspective that many professionals never achieve. This metaphorical wisdom applies to every workplace scenario where personal feelings intersect with professional responsibilities. Understanding the difference between your professional contribution and your personal worth is crucial for maintaining sanity in any work environment. Daniel's response revealed a man who had learned to separate his craftsmanship from his ego, his service from his self-worth. The disappointment of discovering that professional appreciation doesn't automatically translate to personal value is a universal experience that shapes how we approach future relationships. His ability to articulate this boundary so clearly suggests a level of self-awareness that comes from previous experiences with similar situations. The confidence to state your professional limits without anger or bitterness is a skill that serves you well in negotiations, client relationships, and team dynamics. Most people either become defensive or completely withdraw when faced with such situations. But Daniel chose a third path: professional detachment with dignity. The transition from emotional investment to professional detachment isn't about becoming cold or uncaring, but about understanding where your energy is best invested for long-term success. When someone shows you that your professional excellence was appreciated but not valued in the way you hoped, the mature response is to recalibrate your expectations rather than diminish your standards. Daniel's commitment to completing his work with the same level of excellence, despite the personal disappointment, demonstrates the kind of professional integrity that builds lasting success. This scenario plays out constantly in corporate environments where employees mistake professional recognition for personal connection. The ability to maintain performance quality, regardless of emotional disappointment, is what separates career-oriented professionals from those who let personal feelings dictate their work output. The loyalty we show to our craft and professional standards should never be dependent on external validation or personal relationships. Daniel's decision to continue his meticulous work while they displayed their relationship publicly showed a level of professional maturity that many people never develop. The learning here extends beyond landscaping to every profession where personal feelings can interfere with work quality. His quiet persistence in maintaining excellence while processing personal disappointment demonstrated the kind of emotional regulation that successful professionals must master. The ability to compartmentalize personal hurt while maintaining professional standards is a skill that serves you well in client relationships, team dynamics, and leadership roles. True professional growth often requires learning to find satisfaction in the quality of your work rather than the appreciation of specific individuals. Daniel's experience taught him that professional fulfillment comes from internal standards rather than external validation. The superation of such situations lies in understanding that your professional worth isn't diminished by someone else's personal choices or preferences. His continued dedication to excellence, regardless of the personal drama unfolding around him, positioned him for future success that wouldn't be dependent on any individual relationship. This kind of professional resilience becomes the foundation for building a career that survives changes in management, client preferences, and workplace dynamics. The days following a professional disappointment often reveal whether someone possesses the emotional intelligence to maintain their standards or will allow personal feelings to compromise their work quality. Daniel's commitment to arriving the next morning and continuing his meticulous care of the garden demonstrated a level of professional maturity that separates true craftsmen from those who let emotions dictate their performance. His decision to leave the yard in perfect condition, despite the personal betrayal he'd witnessed, showed an understanding that professional integrity isn't conditional on personal relationships. The discipline required to maintain excellence when your emotional investment has been redirected takes a strength that most people never develop. This scenario plays out daily in offices, workshops, and service industries, where professionals must choose between maintaining standards or letting disappointment affect their output. There's something powerfully dignified about expressing your professional philosophy through actions rather than confrontational words or dramatic gestures. The note Daniel left on the gate, "What grows with care doesn't flourish with neglect," encapsulated years of wisdom about both gardening and human relationships in a single, elegant statement. This approach to communication demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that successful professionals develop over time, the ability to convey important messages without creating unnecessary drama or burning bridges. His choice to express his perspective through a thoughtful note rather than an angry confrontation showed respect for his own professionalism and maintained his dignity. The learning here extends to every workplace situation where disappointment could lead to unprofessional responses that damage your reputation more than they address the actual issue. The most profound professional lessons often come from understanding that your work speaks louder than any explanation or justification you might offer. Daniel's final gesture of leaving the garden impeccable while delivering a philosophical message about care and neglect demonstrated a level of sophistication that impressed even as it communicated his disappointment. The ability to maintain professional standards while subtly addressing personal issues is a skill that serves you well in client relationships, team dynamics, and leadership positions. His note wasn't accusatory or bitter, it was educational, offering wisdom that she could apply to future relationships if she chose to understand the deeper meaning. This kind of professional maturity transforms potentially destructive situations into learning opportunities for everyone involved. The transition from employee to entrepreneur often begins with moments of clarity about your professional worth and the decision to invest in your own future rather than hoping for external validation. Months later, when Daniel opened his own plant nursery, he had transformed his disappointment into determination and his professional skills into business ownership. The journey from working in someone else's garden to creating your own business represents the kind of professional evolution that comes from understanding your value and refusing to depend on others for recognition. His entrepreneurial success wasn't born from anger or revenge, but from the confidence that comes from knowing your professional worth isn't determined by any individual relationship. This transformation happens frequently when skilled professionals realize they've been undervaluing their expertise and decide to create their own opportunities. The ultimate test of professional growth comes when the person who disappointed you seeks your services in your new position of strength and independence. When she appeared at his nursery seeking plants, Daniel faced a moment that would define his character and professional philosophy. The temptation to refuse service, lecture about past behavior, or demonstrate superiority could have overwhelmed someone with less emotional maturity. Instead, his response revealed the kind of wisdom that comes from processing disappointment into professional strength. His recommendation of the most resilient plants wasn't just about gardening. It was about understanding that some people need relationships that can survive their tendency to neglect what matters most. This level of professional grace while maintaining personal boundaries demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that creates lasting success. The ability to serve people professionally while maintaining emotional boundaries is a skill that successful entrepreneurs and professionals must master. Daniel's interaction with his former client showed that professional excellence and personal dignity can coexist even in emotionally charged situations. His comment about plants that survive even those who forget to water them delivered a profound message about relationships and responsibility without compromising his professional demeanor. The learning here applies to every business interaction where past disappointments could interfere with current professional opportunities. His approach demonstrated that you can acknowledge past experiences while focusing on present professional responsibilities, creating value for your business while maintaining your personal integrity. True professional superation isn't about avoiding people who disappointed you, but about reaching a level of emotional maturity where you can serve them excellently while maintaining clear boundaries about personal involvement. Daniel's transformation from disappointed employee to successful business owner who could interact gracefully with his former client represents the kind of professional evolution that comes from processing betrayal into wisdom. His ability to recommend the right plants while subtly communicating life lessons showed a level of sophisticated communication that builds customer loyalty even in complex situations. The confidence to maintain professional standards while addressing personal history demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that creates lasting business success and personal satisfaction. The anticipation of meaningful professional recognition can create emotional vulnerabilities that leave us unprepared for the harsh realities of workplace dynamics and personal disappointments. When Daniel approached the backyard that third day, he carried with him the accumulated weight of genuine professional investment and the natural human hope that excellence would be rewarded with respect and appreciation. The sound of laughter drifting from the garden he'd carefully tended should have been a pleasant background to his work, but instead it became the soundtrack to one of those defining moments that reshape our understanding of professional relationships. These moments of realization happen across every industry and profession, where dedicated employees discover that their emotional investment in workplace relationships far exceeded what was reciprocated. The learning curve from hope to wisdom is often steep and painful, but it's essential for developing the emotional intelligence necessary for long-term professional success. There's something uniquely devastating about witnessing your professional space being used as the backdrop for someone else's personal drama, especially when that space represents your dedication and craftsmanship. As Daniel moved closer to the source of the laughter, he was about to confront a scene that would challenge every assumption he'd made about professional boundaries and personal connections. The sight of her holding hands with the tennis instructor, young, confident, and clearly comfortable in a space that Daniel had created through his own labor, represented more than simple disappointment. It was a masterclass in understanding that professional excellence doesn't automatically translate to personal value in someone's life. The frustration of discovering that your work environment has become someone else's romantic setting is a unique form of workplace betrayal that millions of service professionals experience but rarely discuss openly. The contrast between Daniel's weathered hands and the tennis instructor's smooth, pampered appearance told a story about different types of value that society places on various forms of work and personal presentation. While Daniel had invested weeks of physical labor and emotional energy in creating a beautiful space, the tennis instructor had arrived with youthful charm and athletic appeal that required no long-term commitment or professional investment. This scenario plays out constantly in professional environments where substance and style compete for recognition and reward. The sight of them kissing among the roses he'd planted wasn't just personal rejection. It was a vivid illustration of how quickly professional dedication can be overshadowed by superficial attractions. But what happens next in these situations reveals everything about character and professional maturity. The moment of confronting unexpected betrayal in professional settings tests every aspect of your emotional intelligence and professional training. Daniel's response to discovering this scene would define not only his immediate future, but his entire approach to professional relationships going forward. The choice between emotional reaction and professional composure is one that separates mature professionals from those who let personal feelings destroy their career prospects. His decision to simply adjust his cap, gather his tools, and continue working represented a level of emotional regulation that most people never develop. The ability to maintain professional standards while processing personal disappointment is a skill that serves you well in client relationships, team dynamics, and leadership positions throughout your career. Continuing to work excellently while your emotional world is being reorganized requires a strength that comes from understanding that your professional worth isn't determined by any individual relationship or situation. Daniel's quiet persistence in pruning plants while they displayed their relationship publicly demonstrated the kind of professional integrity that builds lasting success. The discipline required to maintain focus on your responsibilities while others create drama around you is a skill that transcends industries and situations. His ability to compartmentalize personal hurt while maintaining work quality showed a level of emotional maturity that would serve him well in future professional endeavors. The learning here extends to every workplace scenario where personal feelings threaten to interfere with professional performance and long-term career goals. The roses that Daniel had carefully planted and tended became silent witnesses to a moment that would reshape his understanding of professional relationships and personal boundaries. The irony of their romantic display happening among flowers that represented his dedication and craftsmanship wasn't lost on him, but his response showed that he understood the deeper lesson about professional detachment and emotional intelligence. The ability to continue working while processing disappointment demonstrates the kind of resilience that successful professionals must develop to navigate complex workplace dynamics. His quiet competence in the face of personal betrayal positioned him for future success that wouldn't be dependent on external validation or individual relationships. True professional growth often requires learning to find satisfaction in the quality of your work rather than the appreciation of specific individuals, especially when those individuals prove unworthy of your emotional investment. Daniel's experience in that garden taught him lessons about professional boundaries and personal worth that would serve him throughout his career and personal life. The superation of such moments lies in understanding that your professional excellence isn't diminished by someone else's poor judgment or inability to recognize genuine value. His continued dedication to his craft, regardless of the personal drama unfolding around him, demonstrated the kind of professional maturity that creates lasting success and personal satisfaction. The true measure of professional character reveals itself not in moments of recognition and praise, but in how someone responds to unexpected betrayal while maintaining their commitment to excellence. Daniel's decision to continue his work with the same meticulous care, despite witnessing the scene that shattered his assumptions about their relationship, demonstrated a level of emotional intelligence that separates exceptional professionals from those who let personal feelings dictate their work quality. The act of adjusting his cap, such a simple, dignified gesture, spoke volumes about his approach to processing disappointment without compromising his professional standards. This kind of emotional regulation under pressure is what builds lasting success in any career, whether you're providing services, managing teams, or leading organizations. The ability to compartmentalize personal hurt while maintaining professional excellence is a skill that serves you well in client relationships, workplace dynamics, and leadership positions throughout your career. There's profound wisdom in understanding that your professional worth isn't diminished by someone else's personal choices, even when those choices seem to discount the value of your dedication and craftsmanship. As Daniel gathered his tools and continued pruning, he embodied the kind of professional maturity that comes from separating your self-worth from external validation. The roses he had planted bore witness to a moment that would define his character and reshape his understanding of professional relationships. His ability to continue working while they displayed their affection publicly showed a level of emotional detachment that most people never develop. The frustration of investing emotional energy in professional relationships that don't reciprocate can either embitter you or teach you invaluable lessons about boundaries and expectations. Daniel chose the path of learning over bitterness, demonstrating the kind of wisdom that creates lasting professional success. The contrast between Daniel's quiet professionalism and the couple's public display of affection highlighted the difference between substance and superficiality in both work and relationships. While he focused on the detailed work of plant care, understanding soil conditions, proper pruning techniques, and long-term garden health, they were engaged in the kind of surface-level interaction that requires no real commitment or professional investment. This scenario plays out constantly in professional environments, where depth and dedication compete with charm and immediate gratification for recognition and reward. The sight of them embracing among the flowers he'd carefully cultivated wasn't just personal rejection. It was a vivid illustration of how quickly professional excellence can be overshadowed by superficial attractions. His response to this situation would determine whether he allowed this disappointment to diminish his professional standards or used it as motivation for future growth. The discipline required to maintain professional excellence while processing personal disappointment is a skill that transcends industries and creates the foundation for long-term career success. Daniel's commitment to completing his work with the same attention to detail, despite the emotional turmoil of the moment, demonstrated an understanding that professional integrity isn't conditional on personal relationships or external validation. The learning here extends to every workplace scenario where personal feelings threaten to interfere with professional performance and career goals. His ability to continue pruning with precision while they kissed nearby showed a level of emotional compartmentalization that successful professionals must master. The superation of such moments lies not in dramatic responses or emotional outbursts, but in maintaining your professional standards, regardless of personal disappointment or betrayal. Understanding that your professional contribution and personal worth are separate entities is crucial for maintaining sanity and success in any work environment. Daniel's quiet persistence in caring for the garden while others created drama around him positioned him for future opportunities that wouldn't be dependent on any individual relationship. The confidence to continue working excellently despite personal rejection demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that creates lasting professional success. His focus on the technical aspects of his work, proper pruning angles, plant health, garden maintenance, while processing emotional disappointment showed a level of professional maturity that would serve him well in future endeavors. The ability to maintain performance quality, regardless of external circumstances, is what separates career-oriented professionals from those who let personal feelings dictate their work output. The roses that Daniel tended while witnessing their intimate moment became symbols of his professional dedication and emotional resilience. Each careful cut of his pruning shears represented a choice to maintain excellence despite personal disappointment, to focus on long-term garden health rather than immediate emotional reactions. His understanding that professional work continues regardless of personal drama demonstrated the kind of wisdom that builds lasting success in any field. The ability to find satisfaction in quality craftsmanship while others focus on superficial pleasures is a skill that serves you well throughout your career. The trust he maintained in his own professional value, even when others seemed to discount it, positioned him for future success that wouldn't be dependent on external validation or individual appreciation. True professional growth often requires learning to process disappointment into determination, transforming personal betrayal into professional strength and wisdom. Daniel's experience in that garden taught him lessons about professional boundaries and personal worth that would serve him throughout his career and personal life. The loyalty he showed to his craft and professional standards, regardless of external validation or personal relationships, demonstrated the kind of integrity that creates lasting success and personal satisfaction. His ability to maintain focus on his responsibilities while others created chaos around him is a skill that transcends industries and situations, serving as the foundation for professional excellence and personal fulfillment. The art of graceful deflection in professional settings reveals more about someone's character than any resume or performance review ever could, especially when personal boundaries have been crossed and uncomfortable explanations become necessary. When caught in compromising situations, most people resort to elaborate justifications that only make the situation more awkward for everyone involved. But her attempt to introduce Leo as someone helping with stretches demonstrated the kind of clumsy damage control that happens daily in workplaces when personal and professional lives collide unexpectedly. The discomfort of witnessing such moments teaches us valuable lessons about maintaining dignity under pressure and recognizing when someone is trying to manage multiple relationships simultaneously. Daniel's response to her stammered explanation wasn't born from hurt feelings or wounded pride, but from a deep understanding that professional relationships don't require personal justifications or elaborate explanations about private choices. His wisdom lay in recognizing that her personal decisions had nothing to do with the quality of his work or his professional integrity. There's profound power in refusing to engage with drama that doesn't serve your professional growth or contribute to your personal development, especially when others try to drag you into their complicated relationship dynamics. When she attempted to explain Leo's presence with nervous laughter and awkward introductions, Daniel could have responded with sarcasm, demanded clarity about their relationship, or expressed his disappointment about her apparent deception. Instead, his reply cut through the nonsense with surgical precision. "I only care for the roots. Who steps on the flowers isn't my problem." This response demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that separates exceptional professionals from those who get entangled in workplace drama and personal complications. The ability to maintain focus on your core responsibilities while others create chaos around you is a skill that transcends industries and situations, serving you well in client relationships, team dynamics, and leadership positions throughout your career. The metaphorical wisdom embedded in Daniel's response revealed years of experience dealing with people who confuse professional service with personal availability, a common challenge in service industries and client-facing professions. His understanding that caring for roots represents the fundamental, essential work, while worrying about who steps on flowers represents getting distracted by superficial drama, showed a level of professional maturity that most people never develop. This distinction between essential responsibilities and peripheral distractions applies to every workplace scenario where personal feelings intersect with professional duties. The frustration of investing emotional energy in professional relationships that don't reciprocate can either embitter you or teach you invaluable lessons about boundaries and expectations. Daniel chose to focus on the foundational aspects of his work: soil health, proper plant care, long-term garden maintenance, rather than getting involved in the surface-level drama of personal relationships. Understanding the difference between your professional contribution and your personal worth is crucial for maintaining sanity and success in any work environment, particularly when clients or colleagues attempt to blur those boundaries for their own convenience. Daniel's response revealed a man who had learned to separate his craftsmanship from his ego, his professional service from his personal self-worth, creating clear boundaries that protected both his work quality and his emotional well-being. The disappointment of discovering that professional appreciation doesn't automatically translate to personal value is a universal experience that shapes how we approach future relationships in workplace settings. His ability to articulate this boundary so clearly, without anger or bitterness, suggests a level of self-awareness that comes from previous experiences with similar situations. The confidence to state your professional limits while maintaining dignity demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that serves you well in negotiations, client relationships, and team dynamics throughout your career. The transition from emotional investment to professional detachment isn't about becoming cold or uncaring, but about understanding where your energy is best invested for long-term success and personal satisfaction. When someone shows you that your professional excellence was appreciated, but not valued in the way you hoped, the mature response is to recalibrate your expectations rather than diminish your standards or compromise your work quality. Daniel's commitment to maintaining his professional focus despite the personal disappointment demonstrated the kind of integrity that builds lasting success in any field. This scenario plays out constantly in corporate environments where employees mistake professional recognition for personal connection, leading to disappointment and workplace complications. The ability to maintain performance quality regardless of emotional circumstances is what separates career-oriented professionals from those who let personal feelings dictate their work output and professional relationships. The wisdom of focusing on roots rather than flowers represents a fundamental principle for professional success. Invest your energy in the essential foundational aspects of your work rather than getting distracted by superficial recognition or dramatic situations. Daniel's philosophy about caring for what matters most while ignoring who might damage the surface beauty demonstrated the kind of long-term thinking that creates lasting professional success. His understanding that some people will inevitably cause damage to beautiful things, regardless of how much care went into creating them, freed him from the frustration of trying to control outcomes beyond his influence. The learning here extends to every profession, where you must balance personal investment with professional detachment, maintaining excellence while protecting your emotional well-being. The ability to find satisfaction in quality work while others focus on superficial pleasures is a skill that serves you well throughout your career and personal life. True professional maturity involves learning to process disappointment into wisdom, transforming personal betrayal into professional strength and clearer boundaries for future relationships. Daniel's experience taught him that professional fulfillment comes from internal standards rather than external validation, from focusing on the essential work rather than hoping for personal appreciation from clients or colleagues. The superation of such situations lies in understanding that your professional worth isn't diminished by someone else's personal choices or inability to recognize genuine value. His ability to maintain focus on his responsibilities while others created drama around him positioned him for future success that wouldn't be dependent on any individual relationship or external validation, demonstrating the kind of emotional intelligence that creates lasting professional satisfaction. The final gesture of a true professional often speaks louder than any confrontation or dramatic exit, demonstrating that maintaining excellence until the very end is what separates craftsmen from mere workers. Daniel's decision to arrive the next morning and complete his work with the same meticulous attention to detail showed a level of professional integrity that transcends personal disappointment and emotional hurt. The discipline required to maintain your standards when your emotional investment has been redirected takes a strength that most people never develop. Yet it's precisely this quality that builds lasting professional reputation and personal character. His commitment to leaving the garden in perfect condition, despite the betrayal he'd witnessed, demonstrated an understanding that professional excellence isn't conditional on personal relationships or external validation. This approach to work completion sets the foundation for future success that isn't dependent on any individual client or workplace situation. There's profound dignity in expressing your professional philosophy through thoughtful communication rather than angry confrontation or passive-aggressive behavior. The note Daniel left attached to the gate, "What grows with care doesn't flourish with neglect," encapsulated years of wisdom about both gardening and human relationships in a single, elegant statement that would resonate long after he'd moved on. This approach to difficult professional situations demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that successful professionals develop over time, the ability to convey important messages without creating unnecessary drama or burning bridges that might affect future opportunities. His choice to leave a philosophical message rather than an angry letter showed respect for his own professionalism and maintained his dignity while subtly addressing the situation. The learning here extends to every workplace scenario where disappointment could lead to unprofessional responses that damage your reputation more than they address the actual issue. The art of leaving a lasting impression through wisdom rather than bitterness is a skill that serves professionals well throughout their careers, particularly when transitioning between jobs or ending difficult client relationships. Daniel's note wasn't accusatory or bitter. It was educational, offering insight that could benefit her future relationships if she chose to understand the deeper meaning behind his words. The ability to maintain professional standards while subtly addressing personal issues demonstrates a level of sophistication that impresses even as it communicates disappointment. His message about care and neglect applied to both gardening and relationships, creating a dual meaning that acknowledged the situation without resorting to direct confrontation or emotional manipulation. This kind of professional maturity transforms potentially destructive situations into learning opportunities for everyone involved, maintaining your reputation while addressing important issues. The transition from disappointment to professional closure requires understanding that your final actions in any situation will be remembered long after the emotions fade. Daniel's decision to complete his work excellently while leaving a thoughtful message demonstrated the kind of character that builds lasting professional success and personal satisfaction. The trust he maintained in his own professional value, even when others seemed to discount it, positioned him for future opportunities that wouldn't be dependent on external validation or individual appreciation. His note served as both a professional goodbye and a life lesson, showing that true professionals can address personal disappointment while maintaining their commitment to excellence. The confidence to express your professional philosophy without anger or bitterness demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that creates lasting success in any field. Understanding that your professional legacy is built through consistent excellence rather than dramatic gestures or emotional outbursts is crucial for long-term career success. Daniel's final day of work represented everything he stood for as a professional: attention to detail, commitment to quality, and the ability to maintain standards regardless of personal circumstances. The learning here extends to every professional situation where you must choose between letting emotions dictate your actions or maintaining the standards that define your character. His approach to ending this professional relationship with dignity and wisdom demonstrated the kind of maturity that successful professionals must develop to navigate complex workplace dynamics. The ability to find closure through excellent work and thoughtful communication, rather than confrontation or abandonment, shows a level of emotional intelligence that serves you well throughout your career. The note Daniel left became a symbol of his professional philosophy and personal character, demonstrating that true professionals can address difficult situations with wisdom and grace. His understanding that some relationships require care to flourish while others wither due to neglect applied to both his gardening expertise and his life experience with human nature. The superation of such situations lies in maintaining your professional standards while expressing your wisdom in ways that might benefit others, even when they've disappointed you. His ability to transform personal betrayal into professional wisdom positioned him for future success that wouldn't be dependent on any individual relationship or external validation. The confidence to leave a situation with your dignity intact while offering valuable insights demonstrates the kind of character that creates lasting professional satisfaction and personal fulfillment. True professional growth often requires learning to process disappointment into wisdom, transforming personal betrayal into professional strength and clearer boundaries for future relationships. Daniel's experience taught him that professional fulfillment comes from internal standards rather than external validation, from maintaining excellence regardless of how others respond to your efforts. The loyalty he showed to his craft and professional standards, even in his final day of work, demonstrated the kind of integrity that builds lasting success and personal satisfaction. His ability to combine excellent work with thoughtful communication created a professional legacy that would serve him well in future endeavors, showing that true professionals can maintain their standards while addressing personal disappointment with wisdom and grace. The ultimate validation of professional excellence comes not from external recognition, but from the confidence to create your own opportunities and build success on your own terms. Months after leaving that garden behind, Daniel's decision to open his own nursery represented the kind of entrepreneurial evolution that happens when skilled professionals realize they've been undervaluing their expertise and decide to invest in their own future. The journey from employee to business owner isn't just about financial independence. It's about transforming disappointment into determination and professional skills into sustainable success. His nursery became a testament to the principle that your professional worth isn't determined by any individual relationship or client appreciation, but by your ability to create value that speaks for itself. The learning curve from working in someone else's space to creating your own business environment teaches lessons about professional confidence and personal agency that no employment situation can provide. There's profound satisfaction in building something from the ground up, using the skills and wisdom you've developed through years of professional experience, including the difficult lessons learned from workplace betrayals and personal disappointments. Daniel's nursery represented more than just a business venture. It was the physical manifestation of his professional philosophy about caring for roots and focusing on foundational excellence rather than superficial recognition. The transition from service provider to business owner requires a level of confidence that comes from understanding your true professional value and refusing to depend on others for validation or opportunity. His success wasn't born from anger or revenge against his former client, but from the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth and acting on that knowledge. This transformation happens frequently when skilled professionals stop waiting for external recognition and start creating their own platforms for success. The establishment of his own nursery demonstrated Daniel's understanding that professional growth often requires taking control of your own career trajectory rather than hoping for advancement within existing structures. The expertise he'd developed through years of hands-on experience, combined with the emotional intelligence gained from navigating difficult professional relationships, positioned him perfectly for entrepreneurial success. His business represented a space where his professional standards could be maintained without compromise, where his expertise would be valued by clients who specifically sought out his knowledge and skills. The confidence to invest in your own abilities while building something that reflects your professional values is a decision that transforms not just your career, but your entire approach to work and life. The loyalty he'd shown to his craft, even in difficult circumstances, now served as the foundation for building a business that could thrive independently. The true test of professional growth and emotional maturity comes when someone who previously disappointed you seeks your services in your new position of strength and independence. When she appeared at his nursery looking for plants, Daniel faced a moment that would define his character and demonstrate whether he had truly processed his earlier disappointment into wisdom. The temptation to refuse service, deliver lectures about past behavior, or demonstrate superiority could have overwhelmed someone with less emotional maturity and professional development. Instead, her visit became an opportunity to showcase the kind of professional grace that comes from understanding that business success requires separating personal history from professional opportunities. His response would reveal whether he had achieved true professional maturity or was still carrying emotional baggage from their previous relationship. The ability to serve people professionally while maintaining clear emotional boundaries is a skill that successful entrepreneurs and business owners must master. to build lasting success. Daniel's interaction with his former client provided an opportunity to demonstrate that professional excellence and personal dignity can coexist even in emotionally charged situations. His approach to helping her select plants showed that he had transformed his disappointment into professional wisdom, focusing on providing value rather than relitigating past grievances. The confidence to maintain professional standards while acknowledging shared history demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that creates customer loyalty and business success. His ability to separate his personal feelings from his professional responsibilities showed a level of maturity that many business owners never develop, yet it's essential for building a sustainable enterprise. The plants Daniel recommended, the most resilient ones that could survive even those who forget to water them, represented more than just gardening advice. They were a subtle communication about relationships and responsibility that demonstrated his professional wisdom and personal growth. His comment wasn't delivered with bitterness or sarcasm, but with the kind of gentle wisdom that comes from understanding human nature and accepting people's limitations while still providing excellent service. This level of sophisticated communication builds customer respect and loyalty while maintaining personal boundaries and professional dignity. The learning here applies to every business interaction, where past disappointments could interfere with current professional opportunities, showing that true success comes from focusing on present value creation rather than past grievances. True professional superation isn't about avoiding people who disappointed you, but about reaching a level of emotional maturity and business confidence where you can serve them excellently while maintaining clear boundaries about personal involvement. Daniel's transformation from disappointed employee to successful business owner who could interact gracefully with his former client represents the kind of professional evolution that comes from processing betrayal into wisdom and disappointment into determination. His ability to provide valuable service while subtly communicating life lessons showed a level of emotional intelligence that creates lasting business success and personal satisfaction. The confidence to maintain professional standards while addressing personal history demonstrates the kind of character that builds not just financial success, but personal fulfillment and professional legacy. If you're ready to continue learning about navigating workplace betrayals, building professional resilience, and creating career success that doesn't depend on others' validation, make sure to subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. The next video will reveal even more strategies for transforming workplace disappointments into professional opportunities, helping you build the kind of career that reflects your true worth and potential.